Equally Purple, a series of short interviews by all equals in Portugal. So, can you introduce yourself and tell us how do you personally relate with these topics of inclusion, namely LGBTQIA+ inclusion topics?
Hello, Georgina. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me to this conversation on an important topic. Anything to do with diversity and inclusion is always welcoming. My name is Ana Fernandes. I'm the head of compliance of Natixis Portugal, and more recently I've embraced the challenge of also leading the EMEA compliance, covering 8 different jurisdictions. So I've joined the company more than 3 years ago, and it all started by setting up the compliance area here in Natixis Portugal, given the growth of the entity and the need of having compliance activities locally based, but equally as we expanded activities, or so-called nearshore activities, so services around compliance for other platforms. We've expanded from around 3 to 4 areas to probably around 10, and in terms of numbers from 18 people, and today we are 75 individuals. So it's been challenging but kind of rewarding to see the growth of the setup, and very proud as well to see that it is a diversified bunch of people with different ways of thinking, different nationalities, so a path that we want to carry on in achieving, really.
Very well. And obviously you have a very important role in leading compliance within the group. So I would like to ask you, how do you see in an ever more diverse work environment and very conscious of these inclusion topics and the inclusion topic within the corporate world, how do you see compliance role and the setting of policies relating to that?
So it starts with the thinking process, actually. And I don't think it is a topic just for compliance. I think it cuts across every single area. Having a group of people that thinks alike, it's never a good thing, in my view. I think the more diversified, the more different ways of thinking, whether through ethnicity, whether through nationality, whether through different values, religion, doesn't really matter. If you've got different ways of thinking, and I always say this to my staff and to the teams and everyone, we are much stronger when we disagree. Why? Because the subject is really scrutinized, it's questioned, it's thought through. And I always know that whatever decision comes out is going to be a good decision. You might not all agree with it, but the fact that we're debating it because we think differently, it makes the decision stronger. And so the thought process for me in setting policies, for example, compliance policies, requires that diversity of thinking. It's not healthy to have exactly the same way of thinking when developing this. And more so, we have to think of who we are working for. And ultimately, we're working for the society, pretty much. And the society is diverse.
And demands it.
And demands it. So we cannot ignore how the world thinks. And we have lots of different human beings that think differently. So it wouldn't even be appropriate to create policies that don't even match the reality, either outside, either in terms of our workforce that is getting more and more diverse. So it starts with that process of the thinking. And then we should consciously look at the wording produced and think, have I captured the differences? Does it apply to the majority at least? It's very hard to please everyone, you know, and it's a fact, and we have to accept that.
It's a consequence of diversity.
Exactly. It's impossible. You cannot serve the same way everyone, but you can certainly be conscious of the fact that you cannot serve everyone the same way. just the fact that we know that, it's like that topic of unconscious bias. We all have unconscious bias. The key is that the unconscious needs to be conscious. And we need to make an effort to make it conscious. And the moment that I say to myself, you are being biased here, you are not thinking properly, you are being totally partial, it's a step forward. And we need to start doing that. So in terms of the review of the policies, we should make that effort. Am I including or making an effort to include? If I'm not including, why am I not including? And sometimes there are valid reasons for not including. So I do see compliance having an important role in making sure that we look at all these factors, because we do produce documents, rules, policies that staff needs to follow and is expected to follow.
Would you say that compliance has a didactic role to fairness?
I think it's not just compliance, it's everyone. Every single individual has that role. Maybe compliance is there to remind people that they have that role. And we should definitely live and set the example, but I don't expect us to be owners of that or, leading on that. I think everyone, every single individual should follow that and see that as a principle.
Very well thought of and very well put in words. So what would you like to transmit as a message to, of course, we are talking about all equals, so to our LGBTQIA+ community?
To be honest, I do think we're all equals.
We try to be.
Everyone has far more in common than differences. Sometimes we focus too much on the differences and we forget the common things. I guess it's a message for everyone. Just be yourself, and you should always be yourself, because that's what makes you special. And that's what makes you such an important contributor to the organization and ultimately to the society. And I think everyone should feel respected, should feel valued, because on its own, each one of us is special.
A very true and positive message.
Yes.
So I would like to thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
For coming to Equally Purple, this series of short interviews. And most of all, to thank you for your contribution, very valued and very seen, in order to foster a more inclusive and diverse work environment here in Natixis. Thank you, Ana.
Thank you, Georgina.